Hi, everyone. Welcome to another Cyber Impact webinar. We're happy to kick off this webinar season with this webinar on automated email list growth. I'm going to share with you a quick presentation. We're going to go through some topics, and I'm really happy to have here our new Director of Growth, Nihal Mandana. He's going to introduce himself real quick. Today, we'll be talking about automating your email list. This is going to be a quick 45 minutes webinar. We're going to have some interactions in here. While I present to you what you'll be learning today, please send in the chat where you're logging in from, what do you work with, what's your business, feel free to share. We will do this as close to your industry as we can. We have some examples for you, but we would love to hear what is your experience with your email list, so then we can do better examples in the future and we can go through back and forth. Also, we have a Q&A section at the end. So send in your questions, whatever you want to know, we're here to help you. Okay. So what you learned today is about automating your email list group. That means, in simple French, how do you get people to join your email list so you don't have to go one by one small tasks that take up your entire week, so then you can have time to do something else. So we're going to learn the impact of growing your list for your business, why email is a great way to grow your business and help you reach those goals. We're going to talk about what conversion looks like when using email, what it means to nurture relationships with email as well. And then we're literally going to show you how you can create a system that will do this. So this is not theoretical. We're going hands-on experience here. I'm going to take you step by step of a system completely automated for a business. And then we're going to share some extra tips on what kind of sequences you can add to your business that are beginner, intermediate, and experienced level, we'll say. So first things first. Hi, my name is Bruna. I am here in Montreal. I work at Cyber Impact. It's been a couple of years now. I am the content marketing specialist. So you see me in webinars, you see me at our YouTube videos, on social media, always active on LinkedIn. Feel free to reach out to me over there. And I'm really happy to have with you my boss. Nihal, feel free to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit of what you do here at Cyber Impact, please.
Of course. Thanks for the intro, Bruno, and thanks everyone for joining. I'm Nihal, and I'm the head of growth here at Cyber Impact. Been here for about 2 months now, so learning the ropes, and it's been a great time. My background's in lifecycle marketing as well as general growth marketing. Quite a bit of experience working with D2C brands as well as retail brands, e-com brands, and a few other industries as well. But yeah, very happy to be here and support Bruna with this really cool webinar we're putting together.
Thank you. So let's start with the basic but very necessary topic, which is, what is the point of growing your email list? Why does it matter? Why does it matter to have an email list, and why should you care about growing it? Some people will settle for, well, we have our clients, our main clients, and we have a small list, and that's it. We just communicate with them. We can use other marketing channels to grow. And I think I speak for both of us when to say we've seen more often than not that people would just ignore email, especially today. I think social media has gotten so much attention as like the best way to get new people, and people just forget about like building relationships and not just reaching people, right?
Absolutely. And I suppose before maybe we get into our take, I know we were curious about what everyone in chat thinks about why you should have an email list. So if anyone has any ideas they'd like to share about what you think the goal of an email list is and how you think it impacts your business, feel free to share. We'll give you like a minute, and then we can give our take on that as well.
Have you ever had an experience in a company where people say like, oh, no, let's not do email marketing. We're fine with whatever else we have in channels?
Oh, absolutely. I think, depending on the industry, like for example, within e-com, I think email is obviously a really big deal, and
Yeah.
it's often like their primary channel for growth. Well, I think in other industries, exactly, GH. Yeah, 100%. Like
Yeah.
ownership of like your list and your contacts and the people you want to speak to is huge. I think I like that you mentioned the algorithms because, I think it's becoming even more important to actually know who you're trying to reach and
Yeah.
find a way to stay in touch with them because, the more control you give up, the less you actually know what's happening behind the scenes, right? And that's often not in your best interest. So, um, but yeah, I think email is a wonderful channel. Obviously, there's good ways to use it and bad ways to use it. But when you use it well, I truly believe that it's like one of the best channels that any organization can have, largely because it's not a growth channel in a typical sense, and it's largely a retention and nurture channel, right? And if we were to get into, I guess the next slide, Bruno, like with yeah, so we got one answer, which is fantastic. Thank you for that. And yeah, so, like some thoughts around why email is such a great channel for any organization. And these are just some top level thoughts, right? There's many more, but ultimately, email, and I'm sure you've heard this many times before, is really one of the highest ROI channels that any business or organization can have. For a few reasons. One is
Mhm.
obviously building a list of contacts you own and can reach directly. Um, there's the value of actually strengthening relationships and sharing value on autopilot, especially when you can build some of these automations and flows. And really, I think at the end of the day, where email truly shines is as the strong retention channel,
Oh,
where
for sure.
you get to retain your most valuable audience members, your most valuable customers, members, donors, whatever it is, who actually want to hear from you, right? And by them opting into your email list, that's often a very strong signal that they want to hear from you. And then
Mhm.
it's your job to actually provide them with useful content and stuff that they want, right? So it doesn't come across as spam.
What we've seen is a lot of businesses saying that they don't have time for email because there's so many channels have to manage. And often marketing teams are lean. You have very few people. And this is actually where we got the idea to do this webinar. People think that email is a lot of work and it's so time consuming. You have to write every single one of them and you have to send a new one every few days. I think that comes a little bit from ecom, but people forget that even for ecom, everything is a system. Everything is put in place once, then manage, revamped, optimize, of course. But there's a lot that you can do to keep your email strategy running in the background, not just going in actually, we see people send newsletters once a month. I mean, what are you doing? How often do you guys send your newsletters? By the way, please leave that in the chat because we've seen a lot of people do it once a month. That is not okay. That is not okay, by the way. But then they go in and they do all this work, and then it's like, oh, I'll send it to a huge group, and that is it. There's no segmentation, there's no specificity, there's no incentive to join their newsletter. And that's fine. It happens. A lot of business will start this way, but this is what we want to help you go to the next level with all this we have to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think to that point around,
Thank you, Ro, for acknowledging my pain. I feel very seen.
and you mentioned like newsletter, for example, right? And I
Yeah.
think there's this general understanding, I think, from a lot of organizations where when they view email, they look at it through the singular lens of
Hmm.
newsletter, right? But really, when you think of email as more of a communication channel, what you can do is, of course, a newsletter is one thing and one type of, call it campaign or content structure that you can send out. But you can actually use email for different elements of communication. It could be in a newsletter format. It could be as part of, like a nurture sequence. It could be just keeping people updated on a more regular basis, whatever it is. And yeah, I think to your point, it can be a lot of work. Of course, it can be as complicated as you want to make it, but you often see the most results and success from doing the basics right, right? And just kind of following best practices. And you'll often see this outsized return on just doing the basics, right? You don't need to go super complex to see good results with your email.
Yeah. So let's see what it looks like when we talk about getting those conversions, getting those nurturings. I think, yeah, concepts. What it looks like for actual businesses. So is this something you had in mind, how like lead conversion is the more Yeah, let's get them to
Immediate.
click, and
Yeah.
that's it. And then nurturing is like those bigger sequence, those more intricate scenarios, we'll say, which are not that intricate themselves. Like being a life cycle marketer, you know that this is pretty much using your customer journey, right? Putting them in place.
No, 100%. And I think, to your point here around like, what is the goal of your email and like, what are you trying to
Mhm.
achieve with it at the end of the day? Where, of course, I think at the end of the day, we're all trying to show ROI and like the impact of our work. And that often comes, I guess, more immediately through lead conversion, right? And lead conversion for different types of organizations or businesses can look different. So, you've included some good examples here where, let's say it is like a dance studio or some type of recreation.
Mhm.
Getting more people to sign up is maybe like a more immediate goal that you might have. But the added value when you actually build these systems that, we're going to talk about is how do you take that, say, one-time conversion and
Mhm.
actually get it to be more of a repeat occurrence, right? Where I think retention is often an afterthought for a lot of businesses because a lot of goals and KPIs and success are often tied to top line numbers, right? Where it's like, okay, how many net new people did we bring
Yeah.
into our program this year? But very rarely, and maybe this is something we try to combat as like marketers, as people in charge of proving our value, let's say in organizations. It's what is the long-term impact of us actually investing in customer relationships and customer nurturing, right? So in this case, more students sign up, and then you get people, on the nurturing side, your goal is to bring them back again and again and again. Same with like Parks and Rec. Obviously, like a more immediate thing might be getting people to do one visit that year. But long term, what you'd ideally want are people not only coming back year over year, but maybe more times in a year, maybe
Mhm.
getting more people to come along with them, right? And that's where the nurturing element comes in. And then, for example, when you mention like health and wellness, it could
Mhm.
be things like turning quotations or getting quotes into a first consultation. And then the nurture, I think here, of course, there's like the conversion nurture and the revenue element of getting people to come back. But I think there's also stuff you can do that are interesting around, like, say, post-appointment care, right? Or like information on how you can make the best use of the information that you were given, for example, during your appointment. So I think these are all like really good, like a good top level overview of what can be done just to visualize it. But of course, like I think it all just comes down to understanding what you're trying to do with, say,
Mhm.
the immediate conversion, and then what you're trying to do long term with the nurturing.
Yeah, and I think you health and wellness was one of the first that I thought when you mentioned that email is not just a newsletter and not just sharing updates about the brand in a bigger level. It's talking about the relationship that person has with your brand, with your business. So for health and wellness, when I think about this is okay, yeah, let's get them to book the appointment, but then afterwards, like, oh, do you need a refill on your prescription? How was the experience with our like your healthcare provider, following up like for dental. My dentist always sends me every 6 or 7 months, like, hey, cleanup time. No, you want to book your appointment, you want to make sure. And sometimes we do this by phone. Sometimes some industries will work better by phone. But on email, you can save this and have this in auto
Mhm.
pilot and then just do other things and give more attention to things that need immediate attention that are more time sensitive. So I think all of these are ways to help you do your day-to-day work easier. Like that's what I like on email and email automation is that you can let it run to do those things that are very important that have to be done, but because marketing is usually a lean team, there's some seasons where it's so crowded, some things slip your mind. When you have these systems in place, it's just okay, this is taken care of. Like your
Yep,
past self helped your future self getting those things right. So I always
exactly.
appreciate that. Well, I want to go into the elements of a successful automated email system. Let's say we'll call them a system. Before that, I'm sending a poll on the chat about email automation. Has anyone here ever used an email automation? Have you ever built an email sequence? And what I mean automation is you can have different names in different platforms you use. So it's just having a sequence of emails, literally email one, and then something happens, and then email two, something happens, email three. Those could be behavioral triggers that could be sent 3 days later. Those could be they clicked on the link, they opened a page, they bought a new product. Anything that is a sequence of emails that are automated. Okay, most people have said no. Some people said yes. No problem. We'll help the people who said no, and the people who said yes can still benefit from the next steps that we're going to show you. So jumping into the elements, you see we have dynamic groups. When I mean groups, those can also have different names depending on the platform you use. Those could be audiences, those could be groups, those could be, I don't know how other platforms are using it, but
You'll often see like
yeah,
segments, for example.
segments. Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
exactly.
Yeah. So it could be something like this, but it just means a group of people that is organized on a certain criteria. So it could be people that sign up through a specific form. It could be people who are between ages 18 and 25. Like you define the criteria, but that is a smaller group of people. Then you have landing pages. You probably know landing pages. We're all marketers here. So those are pages that have one focus. They're focused on one single thing. Usually sharing your newsletter, sign up. These are the benefits of joining this newsletter, or you're pushing an incentive like a lead magnet, or maybe it's a consultation page or a membership page and you want to get people's emails. But landing pages are different than your home pages. We're not going too deep into that, but in those landing pages, you usually find your sign up forms. So simple forms, it could be pop-up forms, it could be a sign up form in a landing page. You collect people's emails, names, last names, age, whatever information is relevant to you and your goal with the email system that you're building. And then we have the email automation or automation scenario or campaign automation, however you want to call it. And that was the first thing that I asked as a sequence of email that goes out without you having to go in and click on each one of those. Those are the elements. Everyone good with these? This is what we're going to play around with in the next few slides. So what does that look like? When you're building an automated scenario, this is the sequence that you usually follow to make sure that the scenario works. So you will have a group with the criteria you want to use. Then you create a sign up form to collect the data that you want for this objective. Like, why are you creating this group? Why do you need this specific group of people? How does this connect to your goal at the end of the system? Sign up form, collect the data. That sign up form goes into your landing page. The landing page is going to be the first thing people see. This is going to be the thing that will make people sign up or not. That will make them download something or just sign up because the incentive seems good, or just they want to share the information because they want to receive information. You name it. There are like so many ways you can use landing pages for.
Mhm.
And then email automation. So all this is to trigger the email automation. This will be the landing page and the email content. This will be the mass of content you have to create. So you have to create your whole landing page, and then the email automation. You have to write the content, you have to add the images. But again, this will all go automatically. You do this once, and then you obviously, from time to time, you go back, you review the information, you optimize it, you perfect it to your customer journey. Sometimes it changes. Sometimes your goals are different. Then you want to change some things. Go ahead and do this. And then after the email automation, a lot of people forget to do something after. It's like, oh, you received all the emails? Yep, you're good. I'm done. What I'd like to recommend and what we do here at Cyber Impact is that we always want to make sure that these systems and these sequences, they turn into something new that can become a new automation, a new system. It's sounds tricky when I say like very broad like this.
Yeah.
Let's go into an example
And
so
just
you
quickly,
can
Bruno, I
see.
think,
Yeah.
on what you were saying around like content and how to plan that
Yeah.
funnel slash customer journey. Um, I think what sometimes happens is people think it needs to be like overly complex or like it needs to be super, super smart, super
Yeah.
personalized. But really, I think, let's say with a landing page, it should have one purpose. Okay, what am I trying to get someone to do? What am I giving them to help them do the thing? Once they do the thing, everything you share with them can just be centered around that, right? So if,
Exactly.
let's say, they sign up for an ebook, for example, I think it's very good to then be like, okay, hey, thanks for signing up. Here's your ebook. The step after that could be like, here's why we built the ebook or why we're sharing this ebook, or here's some key insights if you haven't read them yet. And really just building on this one thing rather than trying to do too many things within a single automation and a single sequence, right? So
Yeah,
really just staying focused and keeping things focused is important.
exactly. So let's imagine the movement club. I made this tailored to Nihal because he's a very big pickleball fan. So this, I guess this image is pickleball.
Yes.
Okay, I don't know.
I mean, that's a terrible paddle, but yes.
Oh, I'm so sorry. You do the images next time.
I'll do
Take a
that.
personal photo, please. Let's build a system for the movement club. So this is a sports and activity club based in Toronto. It's very Nihal tailored sequence is going to happen here. So this is obviously a service-based business. They're offering swimming lessons, pickleball lessons, tennis, volleyball, basketball, and court rentals. So this is what they offer. And then they have flexible memberships. I think a lot of people can relate to this when you're doing service. You might have a few options, and sometimes you might have a few services. No, those clients will be different. Sometimes people who like swimming are not the same people who like basketball. So what would you do here? So fall's coming along. So they need to send their fall programming guide, bless you, and let's build that sequence. So the first thing we're going to do is create the group. So this is the fall guide downloads. This is going to be a PDF, right? With the whole programming. We're going to create the fall guide groups. Then we're going to prepare the form where people can actually sign up to download the fall programming. The goal with the fall programming is to get people to sign up for the fall lessons and activities that are going to happen. So here we're collecting the email and the first name, very basic. We want to make sure that people download it, so we want it to be fast. But we're adding do you prefer solo or team sports? This is an extra piece of information that you can do with custom fields or whatever extra fields you have that will help us further down into the sequence. Group, sign up form. Then we create the landing page. Very simple landing page. Sorry, not pickleball. This is tennis. So you have here the logo. You have the visual incentives like, oh yeah, activities. Yeah, looks like me. Yeah, I do like tennis. I do like swimming. Okay, let's go ahead. Add your email, add your first name, add the information, get your guide. So this, when people sign up through this form, this is going to trigger the sequence. Don't worry, I'm going to walk you through the sequence. This is just an overview of this. So some people look at this and they feel overwhelmed. Let me know in the chat if that's you. If you see something like this on the right side and you feel like, I can't do this. Having people sign up through the form is the first trigger in the automation here. So the first trigger is joining the fall guide downloads. How does that happen? When they sign up through the form in the landing page. When that happens, they get the guide. So the first thing is they're going to receive the guide right after they sign up. Then they have 5 days to click on the link. You can see here there's a trigger, and then it will go to yes or no. So this is thinking, how are people interacting with this email? How are people interacting with the content I'm sending them? People who open will get things that are different than the people who don't, because maybe people didn't open, forgot about it, like inboxes are so full these days. So there's different strategies here. Let's go with they open. Yeah, they open the email, they have the guide. Awesome. Now we're going to use the information that we have in that he asked on the sign up form. So if they do open the guide, they know the programming, they've seen it. Okay, they're trying to make a decision. So if they do open the guide, then they're going through a new trigger here, which is matching the criteria. So my criteria is if they like solo sports. I like solo sports and I like team sports. Maybe Nihal is more of a solo kind of person. He plays pickleball. I don't know if pickleball is doubles or singles. I'm guessing both.
There's both.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll say solos. So me and Nihal will get different things. Like I'm more of a basketball kind of person. So I will go right on the sequence and Nihal will go left. Because in the end, I might like to have more offers on volleyball and basketball. and team sports, while how would prefer to go tennis, pickleball, swimming, which are individual sports. This is about knowing your audience and sending them exactly what they want to see. Like, the chances of you converting how when you're sending pickleball offers, tennis offers, swimming offers, which are solo sports, is higher than when you're sending them to me because I prefer group sports. So when you break it down, it's actually very logical. Like it's a very simple thing, but you have to think about what is better for your audience and what would they actually like to receive and not just shoot and try to reach everyone, right? You following me? You're good
Yes.
here? It could be you. It could be you. Would you think that sequence will work for you if you receive the programming and then you receive specifically for the sports you like? Yeah,
100%.
for sure. And then this is the part where people forget to do, like, oh yeah, I'll send the offer and that's it. Done. I send the offer. Hopefully they'll sign up. This is the second part of the dynamic group at the end of the list. So after they receive the offer for each type of sports that they like, I'll add them to different groups. So now I'll be in the solo sports leads and I'll be in the group sports leads. These groups can be used afterwards when you're doing your newsletter. Let's say you can use dynamic blocks and send tailored content to each person. You can send specific emails for someone who likes solo sports, like, hey, we have some spots left on our swimming activities, swimming events, etc. Do you want to join? Sending those to people who specifically said, like, oh, I like solo sports, I like swimming, I have availability in the afternoons or evening, whatever is information that you've collected is a higher chance of conversion. If I like team sports, I don't like solo sports, I don't like swimming, I don't know how to swim, and I'm getting swimming emails, I might just unsubscribe because I don't care about this. So I'm just unsubscribing. So then your statistics are going down, not because you're not doing a good job, you're not sending good content, you're not like building nice systems, but because you just didn't segment your audience, you didn't have all the data. Like you can't blame someone for not having all the data, but you can't blame someone for not using the data correctly, right? How do you feel about these sequences, people in the chat? Do you think this is something that could apply to your business? Because, oops, not this one yet.
And
Uh,
I think to, your point here, Bruna,
yeah.
is when you think about segmentation and, there's this concept of like zero party data or like first party data, right?
Yeah.
Where I think historically a lot of marketing advice and like marketers go off hunches, right? It's, oh, this is what I think my audience wants, or this is what I think they'll like.
Mm-hmm.
When I think the true value that you can get out of your automations and segmentation is really as simple as asking people
Mm-hmm.
and really getting their feedback on, okay, what is it that actually you care about or
Mm-hmm.
resonates with you? How do we make our content very relevant to you so that you also feel more compelled to stay subscribed, right? And to actually engage with the content that we're sending you. And I suppose Hero asks, any advice for segmenting after we've been running a newsletter for many years? Do we send out an email to ask existing contacts which groups they fall into?
You
So,
just answered that. Yeah, I definitely think you should ask people what would they like.
yeah,
Send in like you can send if you're using Cyber Impact, you can send a micro survey or you can send an update profile form and literally ask people. Because sometimes you will have that information if you just open up the opportunity for people to say to you, yes, I like this. No, I don't like this. It doesn't have to be a subscribe or unsubscribe situation. It doesn't have to go to those extremes. Sometimes people want to receive from you, want to receive news from you, but maybe not every week. So if you have an option for them to receive every 15 days or monthly, or they want to like, I just want to hear
mhm.
from events and webinars. I don't want to hear about product updates. Have that option. And there you go. Like you keep the people who are interested in the stuff they want to hear. And you're not
And,
losing
yeah,
subscribers just because, you didn't segment.
and I think here there's two ways you can view this row. Like, I think one is you can think about, okay, what's the information I'm trying to get out of my past subscribers? And I
Mm-hmm.
think that could go through some of these micro surveys or dedicated campaigns that you are sending out to be like, hey, we're trying to learn more about our existing subscribers or, you, I suppose, like make it very personal. And
Mm-hmm.
then instead of asking all the questions you want to ask, keep it very simple, right? Maybe
Mm-hmm.
you're like, okay, our first month of trying this is we're trying to understand, let's say, language preferences, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you go out with people asking them for their language preferences. But then I think here the opportunity is moving forward. If you have an idea of what type of data you'd like to collect upfront, you can
Mm-hmm.
start thinking about how to feed that or build that into your lead capture, into your forms, so that now you are starting that relationship with that existing context, right? So definitely for your existing newsletter subscribers, just going out with some type of like first party data campaign. And I guess that's a more technical way, but just, hey, we'd like to get to know you better, right? I think is what that campaign would be. And then for any new subscribers you're trying to build in, think about what are those pieces of information that help you deliver a more personalized and relevant experience for them over time. So, once again, just using maybe like an e-commerce example, like skincare, like what a lot of skincare brands will do is when you sign up to the newsletter, a lot of them will use things like quizzes, for example, right? And they'll
Mm-hmm.
ask you what's your skin type, what kind of product do you like, et cetera, et cetera. That ends up being appended to the customer's profile. And now they have a good idea of, okay, this person, has oily skin and they like buying mascara. So, we're going to add them to our oily skin and mascara sequence, right? And now it's super personalized, hyper relevant, and it feels like the person on the other side actually understands me as an individual rather than just putting me into this big bucket of, hey, you've subscribed to our content, right? Which I think is like, um, it's nice. It's nice to feel seen, and it's nice to like make your audience members, feel seen as well. So.
Yeah. I want to jump into, so we explored this very, people will think of intricate sequence, but there are easier and faster ways that you can do sequences at every business you have. These are very simple, very useful flows that you can do. So sequences, email flows, however you want to call. So an email welcome sequence would be people sign up to your newsletter as a broader term, let's say. You say, hey, thank you for subscribing. Here's how we send information. Here's the kind of content you can find in our newsletter. You send this right away. After a couple of days, you send like, hey, by the way, we host webinars every week or every 2 weeks. If you want to sign up to them, here's the webinar page where you can have more information. Um, and then third one is like, oh, hey, by the way, have you tried our product? If you want to jump in with on a call with sales or with our team, if you have any questions, here's the link where you can sign up. Welcome sequence will look different for each industry or each business. The thing is just not having people sign up to your newsletter and then leave them hanging because sometimes businesses will do monthly newsletters and then people sign up like in the middle of the month and it will take 2 weeks before they hear from you. So out of sight, out of mind kind of thing. You don't have to overwhelm people. We're not saying for you to send emails every 2 or 3 days, even though ecom is very famous on this, but strategically. Uh, but do you have like keep yourself visible? Like make sure people remember you, that they see you, and you have to fit yourself into their routine. This is why you need to learn about your audience and have that customer journey um, written down and mapped out. For lead magnets, I guess it sometimes it changes on the lead magnet, right? You know how like when you have ebook, like you were saying, we could do right away, send them the ebook. Then afterwards, depending on the subject, you can do insights, more details about the ebook, something else complementary, like, oh, in the ebook, we mentioned like a spreadsheet that we use. Hey, if you want the spreadsheet as well, this is available. You can go crazy with this, actually. Like, you can go crazy with sequences as much as you want, as long as you're thinking about what your audience would like to receive and what fits for them and
Mhm.
not just what you want to do.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And, I think even here, when we say these are things like every business or organization should have. It can, of course, like change depending on what your goals are. But ultimately, I think, especially, like a welcome sequence, having some type of flow that ties into, like a higher funnel action. Like, let's say the point of like lead magnets and things like that is to capture people's
Mm-hmm.
interest, even if they're not in market, right, for what you're trying to get them to do. So the idea with any type of lead magnet sequence would ultimately be, okay, hey, you're interested in this very broad top level thing I'm offering. Now let me slowly move you down that funnel to ultimately guide you towards where I want you to go, right? And I think the whole point with automations and building these systems is to really act as more of a guide without you being there sending individual emails to everyone ultimately.
Yeah. We've been doing some of that in our newsletter. Some people here came from the Cyber Bulletin, our weekly newsletter. So what we're doing there is we're using our own platform. We're using microsurveys to learn more about the audience, people who are reading, so we can literally send better emails for everyone. So recently we sent an email marketing checklist. So some things that we think are best practices, things all businesses can do when it comes to email marketing. And then we ask people, how did you do? Like on this 10-item checklist, how many items did you get it right? And then this will help us understand how much help our audience needs. Who's just maybe just starting with email marketing, who has some more experience, who's like all the way up, like they're pros. So for those people, we can send more complex, more advanced kind of content. For people who are just in the beginning of the early stages of email marketing, let's say, we can send more basic information that will help them move up those phases, we'll say, with using email marketing. So advanced people will not get beginner kind of content, which might not be interesting for them. And then beginner people will not receive advanced content that might make them feel overwhelmed and like, oh, this is not the newsletter for me because this is too advanced, different moment. So this is an example actually from our newsletter that we've been doing. And yeah, I wanted to add this because it's very easy for people to see a whole webinar, whole automation system like, yeah, but I am a whatever you want to add here. You can be an association, you can be a municipality, you can be a dance studio, you can be a hospital. Do I actually need this? Like, do I actually need to have a whole email marketing sequence, email marketing system in place? My answer is yes. I have yet to find a business or organization, NPO, whatever it is, that could not benefit from email marketing, right? What do you think, Nihal?
No, I absolutely agree. I think it's, of course, the goals and the perceived ROI might be different, depending on your organization. But sometimes I think it's just a misalignment in terms of, okay, what is success and what does success look like with our email marketing program, which I think is sometimes hard to set, but it's like a really good place to start from, right? And I think it's also a good exercise in like setting expectations depending on the stage your business or organization is at, right? So if you're just starting out, probably doesn't make sense to like promise the world and be like, this is going to change how our organization operates. But you can sell the value of here's why at a very baseline level, it's important for us to get some of these systems in place. And then once you get those in place, it's very easy to then be like, oh yeah, look, here are all the results and the benefits we've gained. How do we do something? What's this next step for us? How do we evolve this program? Right. And really thinking about, you know, anything you're doing, I find from a marketing front or really any work, I think is taking this kind of crawl, walk, run approach, right? Where you start with the basics, get the basics in place, make sure you have a strong foundation. Once you have a strong foundation, you think about what can I work on next to improve on this foundation to take me to the next level. And then now you're like, I feel confident. I'm a master of my domain. How do I, blow everyone's minds essentially? And then you go, to stage 3, let's call it. So thank you
So
for
yeah,
attending, Hannah.
kind of what you said here, just so people have a visual what those phases would look like. Thank you so much, Hannah, for joining us. Go to your next meeting. Thank you for taking the time to be here. And just a reminder, everyone who's watching, sometimes you have to jump into another meeting, you have to leave. This webinar is being recorded and it will be available in the next few days. So don't worry, you'll receive them by email, the link to rewatch. So if you want to share with anybody else who couldn't be here or rewatch anything that we shared, we will also share the presentation with you real soon. So don't feel bad if you have to go into a meeting. We understand. So I guess would be like a visual representation of what you just said. Sometimes people are in different places. Some businesses are they starting to build their lists. They're still collecting emails. They're still figuring out what they're going to use email marketing for. And then people who are in phase 3, they just have more robust strategies, I guess. Like they're already going headfirst into automations. They have a bunch of groups. They're doing a lot of segmentations. How do you see businesses going through these phases? Like, I think a lot of people worry about timelines. Like, I've been in business for 5 years, but I'm just now starting to use email marketing. How fast do I need to move with it to reach that spot where we'll be like, oh, this is the greatest ROI I could have expected?
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I think, we're all always under some type of pressure to like meet goals or hit certain targets as fast as possible. Um, Really, I think, especially with email and, nowadays with just the rise of like a lot of AI generated slop and, just like AI outreach tools, email inboxes are also getting super crowded, right? And I think, for example, uh, and this is just my hot take, I suppose, right? But for example, list growth for the sake of list growth
Mm-hmm.
is not a good target because it affects your deliverability if you have, a low engaged, like a not a very engaged list.
Mm-hmm.
And when you start thinking about email and a lot of retention channels in general, it's not really about reaching everyone and anyone. It's trying to find the people that want to communicate and hear from you through this channel, giving them a good reason to stick around, and then building up your success that way, right? So, regardless of where you are in your journey, it's really as simple as who do I want to reach? Who wants to hear from me? And then how do I make sure that this is like a beneficial and valuable resource for them rather than just something that's all about me, right? And I think when you take the time to do that, people notice and you'll see more success over time. So really having a engaged core email list is way better than having a giant list. Because also from a management perspective, if you
Yeah.
don't know who you're talking to, it's going to be a nightmare to actually create solid, content for them.
Yeah, I agree for sure. So we're jumping into the Q&A in the second. I see someone with a raised hand, so we'll go first to Ditcha, who has a raised hand. But just a quick recap for you. Again, you receive this as a replay. You receive the presentation, so you can review it in your own time. Feel free to share your insights on LinkedIn. Feel free to tag us or Cyber Impact, whatever you want. And if you have any more questions, we can leave our emails available here. If you want to talk to us later, send any information, any questions, reach out. Quick recap. So we talked about how email is a great channel for converting, for nurturing clients, to getting to those goals with a more focus. I guess I would say email is a more focused strategy than other channels could be, because on email, you know the people you're talking to. You're not just trying to put something out there and see what will happen. Like, oh, let's see who this content will reach. You know the people receiving this, and the more information you have about them, the better you can send that content and get the conversion. When we talk about email, goals can look different for each industry or each business. Like Nihal said, some people might look for more of getting more memberships, new signups. Some people might be looking into turning clients into long-term clients. Um, it depends on you. The moment of your business as well, your goals can change. Maybe year 1, you're doing something. Year 5, you're probably doing something completely different. That's fine. Adjust your systems, adjust your strategy, and make sure you have things in place that are helping you reach those goals. The 4 elements of email marketing automation is groups or audiences or segments, forms, landing pages, and then the email automation, the email sequence you want to apply. And then the best thing actually you can do is to put yourself in your clients or your customer shoes. Where would you like to go next? What is the next thing you like to receive? What is the next thing you like to see? What do you like to have in your inbox? I always tell people, I I am very like particular of what I sign up for on my inbox. My inbox is very tailored. But when I just say like, oh yeah, send me an email, it's fine. But I don't sign up to a lot of newsletters, which is a curious thing working with marketing because I'm very like I know what I want to receive. I know what I want to get. And I like when I see people taking the time to learn about this. So I don't mind answering surveys, questions, Microsoft, whatever it is. Yes, I'll give you the information if you give me the kind of content that I'm looking for. And sometimes businesses will think, oh, but if we keep asking things, A, they might not reply, and then we just feel bad for not asking. Or B, it will make them leave. It will make them leave. They'll unsubscribe because we're asking too many questions. I think there's a sweet spot in there that you can find. And like Nihal said, if you don't ask, you're not gonna know, right? People don't have the opportunity to tell you what they want.
Yep, absolutely. You had
Okay.
mentioned someone had their hand raised. I don't
Yeah, I think
see
they
them.
they put the hand down. But that's fine. No worries. If anybody wants to send the question in the chat, feel free to. But if you want to speak, we can allow you to talk in here. Just raise your hand. And just a quick intro for Cyber Impact here. So we are an email marketing platform. We are Canadian owned and Canadian operated. Like I said, I'm based here in Montreal. Nihal is in Hamilton. We're very focused on privacy and compliance and data sovereignty. All of our data is hosted in Canada. We follow all the procedures of PIPEDA, Castle, or Quebec's Law 25. So our whole team is trained and expert on all of those regulations every business, every Canadian business needs to be aware of. We are a bilingual team. We're very active on email, phone, and chat. So you can always reach our customer success team whenever you need. And we have onboarding with experts onboarding that will help you make the transition from other platforms to Cyber Impact easier. If you are interested in hearing about Cyber Impact, getting a personalized tour specifically for your business, what are your needs, feel free to reach out to us. There's a QR code here if you're watching this presentation on your computer, you have your phone with you, scan the QR code, or we're going to be sending you on your follow-up email a link to book a demo with Pam. This is Pam. She's in our sales team. She can give you a full tour of the platform, answer all your questions. And speaking of questions, if you have any for us, this is your moment. What are you missing? What do you want to know? Okay, Nihal, this is for you. With the growing use of AI in marketing, how can email campaigns stand out and feel genuinely human?
Yeah, great question. I have a lot of strong opinions on AI's use in marketing that I shall
Same.
not share here. But I think at its core, while I think a lot of solutions and providers will try to sell AI as this replacement, human replacement, I think really where it comes into play is augmentation, right? And like simplifying, let's say, the boring stuff or things that just take up a lot of time. In terms of making your campaigns feel human, I think that, I mean, use it as a writing aid, but don't make it write your content for you. I think that's one. I think two, making sure that the content you produce and deliver is rooted in like experience and like actual insights, things that are hard for just a LLM to actually know. So, something we try to do, for example, is even if we were, let's say, to use AI to speed up the draft of an email, we don't actually just go with that draft, right? We'll actually go to, say, our customer success team and be like, hey, are there any insights that you can share with us that our audience would care about, right? And ultimately, when you keep your audience and their goals and what's good for them in mind, you're going to create human first content, right? And really, I think that's what you're trying to do at the end of the day. Because if it's just machines listening to other machines and reading what other machines are writing, what's the point, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. I think first, I don't think we all didn't think about sounding genuinely human until we started talking about AI. Until a couple of years ago, it's always been human because it's
Hmm.
how we talk. And then now it's like, oh, this content sounds AI-ish. It sounds like a robot. And like you said, I think it's a tool. I think it's a way to help you, but not to do what you do. I also agree. It's not a replacement at all. Um, I see it like Grammarly. If people have used Grammarly or Antidote, which is our partner for French and English reviewing, it will help you with things that might be more of a struggle for some people than others, but it will not do your whole work for you. Even understanding the nuances of how to segment your audience, I think there are things that we see as users of the platform, as customers, human using things and what we expect from companies that AI is not going to catch up to, or it's not ready to do this anyways. Um, but I totally agree with you. Right, the way to sound human, write it, let AI like correct your grammar or adjust some things and help you with punctuation, but it will sound human if it comes from you, from your team. And I think that's the advice that I can have there to complement. Julie's questions about a more technical thing, how to set up an API call.
Yeah, yeah, that's fine. We'll tackle
Yeah, we
it.
can do,
Yeah,
yeah, we have Zapier. I also can send this to our customer success, and then I can reach back to you, Julie, if you want to leave your email here. We'll get back to you with that information. We're the marketing people.
well, she can just they can just send us an email, so she doesn't need to share her email here, and then
Oh yeah,
we
for sure.
can
I'm
go from
sorry.
there. No,
Yeah,
it's
don't
fine.
share your email. Any other questions from the audience here? Anybody else want to ask? You can feel free to ask specific questions about your business, like what do you do? If there's any situation you've run into with your marketing strategy, if you tried email automations and it hasn't worked, feel free. We're
Because
here.
it also helps us, as I guess as part of the marketing team, and as we think about how do we make more valuable resources for
Sure.
folks using our platform or just people interested in email marketing and maximizing the channel in general. I know coming up with questions on the spot is always tough, so no pressure either. So,
Yeah. We do have an answer from our customer success, which is very fast, like I said. So, Julie, I'm sending you this way right now. They were incredibly fast. Um, so yeah, you can do the API call.
you,
Okay,
you
if
you
we're
just sent that to me, by the way, Bryn.
I send it to you? No, I send it
Yeah,
to everyone.
no, this is host and panel. I don't know why it's the default setting, but
Oh my God, why is this?
that's okay. Yeah, but I guess maybe a quick question for you, Bruna, that
Yeah,
might,
hit me.
you know, you you've obviously been working here at Cyber Impact for a while with like email marketing. What's your favorite thing about email as a channel?
I'm a big fan of building automations, because I do like to think a lot about how are people going to receive the content and how they react. So like thinking of all the variables of, yeah, they downloaded this, like our 2024 state of email marketing where we share data about the last year of email. So then thinking like, okay, they received this. What is the next thing they would do? I guess they would think about how they can apply this to their business, how they can use the statistics to their business. So then thinking about the sequence they'll receive afterwards and imagine their journey of interacting with the content. So then after it's like, hey, this is how we take in those statistics and apply to cyber impact to our own strategy. Here's how you can do it. And then thinking about, okay, what's the next thing that they would do? And oh, this is a process that could take maybe a month, a couple of weeks. Let's set up a email to go out in a month or 3 weeks or whatever and check in like, hey, how did it go? Did you actually get to do the audit you wanted to do? Did you make a new plan, create new content with those statistics? So thinking about the journey that people have with the content and building that, like building those little I call it the automation trees. I really enjoyed that process because I think in the end, that's marketing, right? It's seeing how people interact with businesses, how businesses can impact someone's life. And I always think a lot of businesses will do the other way around. They will try to think how people can fit their product
Mhm.
into their lives. And it's the other way around. It's how we as companies, as professionals, add value to other people's lives. Just like we wouldn't want, like sometimes in the company we'll forget we are also consumers. How do we want to be perceived? What kind of content do we want to receive? Translating that into a process, I think it's the most fun thing to do in
Mhm.
email for me. How about you? What do you like to do in email?
Hmm. I think it's interesting because email is such a legacy channel, in many
Yeah.
ways, but it's almost this timeless channel that just like works, right? Like it's such a good, it's universally understood. Your grandma probably understands email, and it's a channel everyone gets. I think the comfort most people have with email too is a nice add-on where it's like, okay, generally speaking, there's low friction compared to, say, something like SMS, right? Or like getting people to come in to like get information.
Mm-hmm.
While email is just like, hey, yeah, I give out my email, for valuable info.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the way I view channels, especially, as a marketer, is there's often this idea of hunting for this unicorn channel. Okay, what's the ultimate channel?
Yeah. What is the
But
one channel that our business needs?
exactly, and I think it's also channel preference, right? Where
Mm-hmm.
you have different types of people in your audience. Some people might like getting SMS, some people like getting email. And the nice thing about email specifically compared to some of these more immediate converting channels is it is very much like a long form or education first type of experience where you can be creative, you can show
Mm-hmm.
visuals, you can, you know, go on like a rant if you want. And as long as it's relevant, people will read it, people will
Yeah.
open it, and it's a nice expressive medium, I think. And it's why, I think even things like personal newsletters and stuff have exploded in the past like 2, 3 years.
Yeah.
So
It's versatile because you don't have a specific format you have to adapt. So like
exactly.
when you're Instagram, let's say, oh yeah, we're all doing squares. And now we're doing 3x4. And
Yeah.
then it's real, so you have to do all vertical. But if you're going on YouTube, you have to do horizontal videos. And on email, you just add whatever you want. Of course, you have to think about mobile, desktop, size of
Mhm.
screens, etc. But you can do whatever. Like GIFs are huge on email, and you can do text, you can do video, you can add voice notes. I've seen newsletters with voice notes, and just because if you want to hear this newsletter, here it is. If you want to read it, it's here. It's like, that's practical. That's interesting. Yeah, I
That's awesome.
agree. Like I now that you mention, yeah, email is a very creative spot. And I also think there's a focus on email. I mean, when people are on scrolling on social media or anywhere, a website, their eye goes to a million places because that is one thing within a crowded space. With email, you open each mail one at a
Mhm.
time, and then you have the whole content there. I think there's something special there as well, and that could definitely more people can take advantage of and use for their strategies. But anyways, we can spend a lot of time talking about
Maybe
email
that's a
and
podcast.
strategy here. But I do
Awesome.
want to think, yeah. Do you want to any close
No,
final remarks?
you go for it. Thank you everyone
Okay.
for joining. Really appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah. Thank you for saving an hour of your day to join us. Again, we'll send you the replay of this webinar. We'll send you the presentation. If you have any question whatsoever and you have left our LinkedIn's and contacts information on the chat, feel free to reach out to us, add us, we'll connect, and we hope to see you on our next webinar that will be next month. And if you do speak French, we have another webinar next week with our Director of Customer Success, which is Fred. He's very excited. He was here on the webinar earlier today, and we'll send you all the information by email. Thank you, Nihal, for taking the time. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you in the next one.